Our Computex 2026 coverage wouldn't be possible without our sponsors Dell Alienware, Montech, NZXT, and Cooler Master. Be sure to show them some love via the description. We have somehow stumbled into the Cooler Master HQ. Did you know that it's only a few short blocks from the Nangang Exhibition Center, which is where the show floor is for Computex here in 2026. This has actually been here for a good while, but we didn't get a chance to visit it last year, so we wanted to be sure to swing by. Cooler Master is one of our sponsors for Computex, and we're very grateful for their support. I want to peek inside and see what they've got. I've never been in here, I have no idea what to expect, but I've heard good things. Also, there's some construction across the street. Bear with me. Now, this is their product showroom. Now, literally everything that they are about to come out with or already have and are currently iterating on is in this room, and it is absolutely slammed right now. So we're gonna do our best to give you an uncut walkthrough of everything. I'm not sure how well this is gonna go. Again, bear with me. We're gonna try the same thing we did with NZXT, but it could be not so great. Now, this is a really cool front panel. This is the first thing I want to cover because I thought it was so unique how they designed this. This is actually gold blade, which is really cool, but it has this beautiful like sponge-like texture. And the way that they pull this off is they actually dipped something like a sponge in a nickel solution. And what's left behind is this sort of cast where it's actually still very permeable, allows a ton of air through it, but it has a really cool look as well. So it's not just like a boring old mesh front panel. There's actual texture here. You can feel it, sort of like coral, sort of have like coral filters in real life. This is a very similar design, and I love that Cooler Master's integrating this into modern PC cases. Now, off to our left, this is another beautiful one. This is the Cosmos. You can see they've done the same thing here, and this even has a slight curve to it. So there are a lot of different shapes you can pull off with this material. I love this. This is so cool. And the gold texture too. Man, we built a gold themed rig a while back. One of these cases would have looked so nice paired with that. Even in a CPU cooler like this. Look at that, the top of this one here has the same texture. Now it's darker, of course, but that just goes to show you can do many different color combinations with this material as well. And the technique behind it, it's just so cool. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. This I thought was pretty awesome. So they've designed this dedicated sort of like heat displacement cover. I'm not sure what they call this. I'll have to go find it. We're live, so to speak. So the names I'll have to either put in text or follow up with later. But this is designed to displace heat from a graphics card that pushes air through typically the furthermost point in the shroud, right? So a lot of newer cards will have a fan on the underside that will push air upward. This typically hits the CPU above it, right? You have a CPU, either air cooler or a liquid cooler above it. The radiator's gonna pull that hot air through it. And what Cooler Master's trying to do is get that air away from the CPU. So this is designed for the graphics card, but it actually benefits the entire system. There's an impeller in here, a blade, that's gonna essentially pull that hot air through this channel and then out the back through the rear PCIe slot cover area. That's very cool. As long as you have the space to do it above your card, this should actually lower CPU temperatures by a fair amount. Cooler Master is citing like 5, 10, even sometimes 15 degree Celsius CPU temperature drops by adding this to your graphics card, that's just pretty wild. The other thing I want to show you on this, I don't know what you want to call this. This is just like a big pillar. They've got a bunch of stuff surrounding it. This is a demonstration of some really cool fans. So we're gonna get to in a second. I would intro with them over there, but it's a bit busy over there for good reason. They have this smoke machine. I don't even know how to use this. I'm gonna try to figure it out. Here we go. Now look at that. Look at that. That's like, I mean, that's a wind tunnel if I've ever seen it. And the reason why this is so effective is sort of threefold. So Lisa, if you want to pull them over here firstly, on the other, is it this side over here? There we go. Yep, we're working with it. So this front panel in this new HAF case, yes, a new HAF case, I'm so excited about this, that has this very streamlined design. So you get the vertical slits that run all the way down, and then a very thin mesh underneath it. But behind the panel are these 220 mil fans. I'm gonna probably cut to some B-roll to show you these because I can't help myself, you have to see this. These fans are absolutely massive. I thought my head was big until I saw these fans, but they do, as you might expect, an incredible job at displacing air, as you saw with that smoke machine demonstration. So two 220s up front. I can't believe I'm saying two 220s. I should be saying 120s. 220s up front, and then I believe this is a 180 at the rear. You get 3 of these the two 220s and the 180 at the rear in this half case. And the effect is essentially a wind tunnel. These are also extremely quiet. Because the blades are so large, they don't have to spin as fast to displace an equivalent amount of air as a much smaller fan. So it's not only going to benefit you in terms of airflow, but also possibly in the noise department because they don't have to spin as fast. And then they actually have a decibel reader over here if you want to show them. It's totally not working right now. I mean, it is working, but it's not really showing what Cooler Master wants because the room is quite loud. It's very busy, but for good reason. All right, now let's see, can we get to, no, we cannot get to that side. All right, let's go over here. Let's go over here. This one's interesting. Now this is not a product that is set to be released anytime soon. Cooler Master says it's because RAM is expensive. I think that's actually clever, right? They're being honest about the fact that, yeah, RAM is insanely priced right now. Why release a product like this to consumers when everything is super expensive? So they're holding out on it, but they are iterating on this design in partnership with G-Skill, right? So these DIMMs not only look fantastic aesthetically, but you'll see each of them has a small fan here. And the effect is sort of like and again, another wind tunnel, similar to what I showed you with that graphics card adapter. It's gonna pull in air here and then exhaust it through these fins out the side and the top. Now we have another demonstration. I need one of these, by the way. This is so cool. So these are actually working right now. Both of these are spinning. I'm gonna show you from one angle. We've got smoke going into one of these, and look at that. It's just getting thrown out the back. I never thought I'd see that from DRAM. And then even up top here with this back one, you can see it's still getting plenty of air there. I don't want to keep this on for too long because this entire room will be smoked up, but that is just so cool. Now, one of the limitations with this design, of course, is the fact that you can only run 2 DIMMs in a 4-slot array because they are so wide. And even if you could run 4 of them, you would effectively defeat the purpose of having fans in 3 of them because they'd be pressed right against the next. But a lot of folks are just running 2 DIMMs anyway for compatibility, speed, and all of that. So I think it's very cool that they're working on this. Obviously not something that's coming to market anytime soon, but they are in the process of working out the kinks here, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. It looks like the case side of things has opened up, so let's come over here. There are a number of things to like about this section. So the Q300 is probably Cooler Master's bread and butter, I would say, from a budget perspective. I've built in the Q300 several times. It's a very affordable case in the $40 price range. It has great airflow and it supports MATX motherboards. So if I show you here, let's just stand this up. Check that out. All that space in there, right? You've seen a Q300 before. This is really nothing new in the sense of hardware support. I think it is a bit wider, so cable management behind the motherboard tray should be a bit easier. But then you get this really just, yeah, look at that. It's just airflow optimized. This thicker panel as well, it feels more premium. You know, the Q300 was always a bit thin. Of course, that came with the price territory, right? It shouldn't be too surprising, but they have worked on improving the quality of materials used as well. This one is a bit more expensive because it does come with the attachments, like these, I think these are stainless steel handles, but you can get it without them, which is cool. I'll swing you over to this one, which is the cheaper. This is a Q300L V3. This is the black variant. And of course, it's missing the handles, but for 40, 45 bucks, that ain't too shabby. It also has the ability to be laid flat. It's for like a home theater setup or something like that. You get rubber feet on the right side panels to allow it to lay flat. I think that looks so cool. The fact that you get that versatility there. And again, a super affordable price point. Okay, let's swing over to the slightly bigger models. You get a Cube 340 here, right? This one is, I think it's exactly the same as the white one I just showed you to the left, but that's what this one is called. If you are curious, the Cube 540, which I'm sure you can imagine is slightly larger than that, comes with plenty of hardware support. Actually, full-size ATX motherboards, 7 PCI slots at the rear, it looks like. This one has a nice wood finish as well. And they also have some really cool stainless steel touches in this one as well. So this one's a dark stainless steel. I think this is just a neutral one. Kind of reminds me of like a disco ball. Sort of looks like a cheese grater, but I actually dig it. I think it'd be really cool to build like a classic car themed rig or something like that inside one of these. Just, yeah, just loving what Cooler Master is doing with the different design languages of these chassis. Also, how are you guys liking Lisa's camera skills? I think she's doing pretty good. This being a one-take wonder, more or less. We might have made one cut so far. Maybe you found where that was. let's swing down this way. I don't believe there's too much else here. Oh yeah, this, I want to show you guys this because they're working with, it sounds like they're working with a partner right now to see if they can bring this to market, but the ability to customize these mesh screens for the Q cases. So you get this really cool texture on this one here. This is actually printed directly on the dust filter in question, and that allows you to get some really cool designs. Look at the front panel of this one. I mean, the options here are limitless. And that again is just something that you don't see too much of today. So the ability possibly in the future for somebody to buy a Q300L or something like that and then have these dust filters actually customized on the spot before shipping, maybe even after the fact, right? It would just be so cool to give owners that flexibility. Look at that. I mean, like even anime and stuff like that, you could really go crazy with the design languages here. So I think that's cool. I love that they are pushing the boundaries. What else can we possibly do that isn't super crowded right now? Okay, this one's interesting. All right, so we just talked about this. I got my brief a little bit ago. I'm gonna try to see if I have this correct. Okay, so what they're gonna do is run firmarc, right? So this is gonna put the graphics card under a heavy load. Now the idea behind this, we all know the 12 volt high power cable, it's not all that reliable, right? I mean, for a majority of folks, you won't have issues, but there have been some pretty serious issues in the past, right? Reports of cards melting, connectors melting, and Cooler Master is trying to keep that from happening. So this power supply in particular has essentially a fail-safe. You'll notice, if you want to show them here, baby, we've got power draw across individual wires in the 12 volt high power cable, right? What we're gonna do is simulate a scenario where power from one of those wires is cut. So that would be that one right there. Now watch what happens up top here. So the amperage on that one wire has dropped off completely and it's being redistributed to the other wires in the cable. Now we're gonna cut another one off and you can see we've got even more amperage in the remaining 4 wires, but we have this blinking LED here in the power supply. And what that is telling us is that this power supply senses there's a serious issue with power distribution and that it's about to shut down. So one more of these gets cut and that's, wow. Okay, it's still, it went up to 13 amps. I think 15 amps is the cutoff? Okay, so 15 amps is the cutoff there. When that happens, the system will actually, well, not the system as a whole, but the power to the card specifically through the 12 volt power cable will be cut. And that, of course, is to prevent those meltdown situations. As amperage increases, so does temperature. One of the downsides with a 12 volt high power connector is that these wires are pretty short. The gauge is pretty high, right? Lower gauge is wider, so it's a higher gauge, it's smaller, and that allows for that heat to be built up over time. If you're pulling too much power through a specific pin, that could cause a meltdown. What's happening here is the card is essentially in sort of like a limp mode. It's not getting power through the cable at all. It's only getting it through the PCI slot, which is why you still see RGB here. The rest of the system is technically on, but you'll have to reboot to get things back up and running. Now, ways to indicate that this is happening. You might be thinking, well, this is really cool, but I'm not gonna see that little tiny red LED there. Like, how am I gonna know that my files are gonna be safe? How do I know that I need to back things up before my system inevitably shuts down? Well, they have ways of doing that, of ways of conveying that. I'm gonna steal one of these right here, sorry. So this is an inline 12 volt high power, essentially it's like an extension. So this is compatible with any power supply that uses this standard, right? It's a standardized connector. So in theory, any power supply that supports 12 volt high power cables should work with this kit. You run this through and then connect this to your graphics card. You'll have a light here that goes off when that power distribution is upset. I believe it also makes noise and there might even be a vibration. Sometimes they actually have another one over there I'll show you that I know definitely vibrates as well. They've integrated it into a wireless charger, which is super cool. But there are ways for this technology to be implemented into essentially any power supply. So it doesn't have to be Cooler Master specific, which I think is very cool. Of course, if you run this externally or in a part of your case where you can see the blinking lights, where you can hear it, etc., then you'll know that things need to be backed up. Your system is about to go down. But again, it's a better scenario than things potentially melting, which is why it's being implemented here. So it is a bit sad that it has to happen, but I think it's very cool that Cooler Master is thinking ahead. They'd much rather save your system in the long run than risk, fires and stuff. It's the 12 volt high power way. Alrighty, let's bring you over to coolers. This is Cooler Master after all. I want to start with an OG that they have implemented, or I should say iterated on. This is the Hyper 212 Flow with a new design. Everyone knows the Hyper 212. This is a tried and true slim single tower CPU cooler here. This thing looks absolutely fantastic. I believe this one has RGB support in it. You can see that top shroud there. That's what you'll see through the left side panel. Looking pretty clean. How we doing, Lisa? You doing okay? All right, we are doing fine. Let's keep going. One take wonder. We've got the Hyper 622 LCD. Now, this one here is obviously not the LCD, but you can see it pops off, and I think it's really cool. You 3D print some cool designs for the top of this one. This is the LCD right here. You can see that screen in the center, and it is totally toolless. No wires of any kind. You see those contact pins there. I think that's awesome, and it is attached magnetically, so you don't have to screw anything down. It simply clicks into place, and voila. Check this out. We saw earlier the cooler with that really cool sponge-like design in it. They've got it here in a white variant with silver accents. I think that's super cool. And then we move on to the Masterfan A series. Now this, the A, stands for aluminum. I think Masterfan M is the other one. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so this one's spinning, but this is the Masterfan M. Ow, that actually really hurt. That really hurt. That was flying. So this uses an aluminum frame, and the Masterfan A uses an aluminum frame and an aluminum fan blade. Now they've actually got the blades here covered by this grill, which is smart because aluminum's a lot stronger than plastic. And I just felt the full force of that on my index finger. But this fan weighs about twice as much, maybe 3 times as much as a typical 120. It's also pretty thick, as you can see there. I believe it's a 30 mil thick fan. I might be wrong, it might be 25 mil, but it does feel a bit thicker than normal. So it allows for even more air to be displaced. And you can see because it's aluminum, they can get very close to the edges with these blades, which is great for static pressure. Look at the gap there. It's just virtually non-existent. That's how precise you can get with aluminum. And again, when these fan blades are spinning at potentially 1,000 RPM plus, you don't want flexing and things. You don't want those blades hitting the housing surrounding them. That can happen with plastic. It probably wouldn't ever happen with aluminum unless there was like a design issue or something. So I think it's cool they're pushing the boundary there. This is a really cool one. I want to know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Cooler Master is curious as well. They're working on an idea for a 360 mil AIO, and then essentially an extended sort of like top flow cooler adapted to the top side of the AIO block. So they've got, you know, the very narrow fin stack in there where the fluid touches to pull that heat away, increasing surface area. That's what you want, right? But then some of that heat being, is it convected? No, it's being conducted upward into another fin stack. So you sort of get like a battle on two fronts. It is cool that that's actually being set up as like a very functional layout versus just an aesthetic one, or like just a screen. I know a lot of folks don't like the screens on AIOs. All right, to each his or her own, but I think this is really cool. This actually looks awesome, and I could picture like in a case, wow, this is really heavy as well. This is like all aluminum here, so you really feel the meat of this thing. It is very weighty, but you put this on top of a CPU, and a lot of that dead space that you normally see on top of an AIO CPU block is now gone because of how thick this is. This has to be about 3 inches thick, and that's not including the block underneath it. So this is incredible. I'm not sure what the cost would be on something like this. I'm sure it won't be cheap, but it will also probably be one of the best cooling 360 mils on the market if it comes to market. I imagine it will. So we've got a massive fan, the 220 I was telling you about, right? I want to hold this next to my head so you guys can see just how big this thing is. It's attracting a lot of attention, and I think for good reason, because it is probably the largest consumer fan that you could buy today. I mean, any case that you could throw it into, there's probably only 1 or 2, and Cooler Master makes them. So the Mighty 40 F220, at least if you want to just go ahead and show them now, I don't want to steal it just yet, other folks are filming it, but that there is the 220. Now next to it on the right is a 180, so for reference, how much larger that 220 is there. And again, only a select number of cases. So far, what I can see here, there's only 1 case that supports it, and it's the new HAF, the HAF II 500. You can see they've got 2 220s here. This is that chassis that you saw earlier that we ran the smoke through. But this case is literally designed to house 2 of these. And it's not only good for cooling, of course, the graphics card and the CPU, but they've also got the little slits and things in the design of the case to cool off things like your hard drives, if you have a hard drive array or something like that in the basement, as well as the power supply. Get this very cool sloped effect. This is, again, on top of the basement. It's gonna pull some of that air upward, direct it into the graphics card shroud, and then exhaust out the back. They've got this cool Cooler Master logo set up here in the rear of the case, which is also great for airflow. You want as little resistance here as possible so that all that pressure that the 220s put into the chassis can exhaust freely. And then above that, a 180. So 2 220s, 180 in this HAF II 500. This truly will be the authority when it comes to high airflow cases. I don't see how it'll be any other case out there, especially right now. Yes, there are cases that support very large fans, but 220s, that's insane. My mind is wondering right now, what all can we do with this chassis, and specifically this fan? Holy cow. Oh, I'm breaking stuff. This is the biggest fan in a consumer case I've ever seen. This almost looks like a car radiator fan. I mean, seriously. And if you can imagine this spinning at a mere 200 or 300 RPM, I mean, this again will displace so much air given its rotational speed that it can operate virtually silent. I don't see how that's not possible. I am totally bewildered by this. The fact that they've not only made this functional, but that they are including it in a case that is about to hit the market. Again, the HAF II 500, keep a lookout for it. I don't know if they're gonna plan on selling this separately. I imagine they might at some point, but again, there's only like 1 case, possibly 2, unmodded, where this will even fit. So yeah, look forward to finding that in a HAF near you from Cooler Master. And again, that's gonna be accompanied by a single V180 as well. Oh, and I almost forgot, one of the most important things, Cooler Master, the V8. This is their flagship cooler. I can't believe I forgot about this. I'm not a one-take wonder, had to make a cut there, but this is super important. So this is one of my favorite looking coolers, and it's because of this top design here. This looks so cool, like an LS or a Hemi or something like that. So like a V8 engine vibe, which is super cool. Of course, dual fans and a pretty slim tower, honestly, for what it delivers. But there's a good reason why they're able to keep this package so slim. So the rear fan there is a reverse blade, and it actually operates at a slightly different RPM, say frequency, but RPM than the front one, in order to keep the fans from competing with each other too much and creating too much turbulence, which is really important. You don't want that to happen. This is an exploded view of the cooler, and this is one of the things that really sets this one apart. So instead of a traditional like 6 or 5 heat pipe array, what Cooler Master have done is added additional heat pipes in the insides of each of these. And this allows them to really keep the package small, but increase the cooling potential of the cooler. And how they've done it is they've added this 3rd chimney, this 3rd copper pipe, and it sort of splits off. It almost looks like a fork now. And this is actually a very complex tooling process. They were talking about how they do it with lasers. And in order to keep this structurally sound, but also functional, there's a lot of quality control that goes into this. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see it too often. This is like the first time I've ever seen it, where it's like a triple split cooling pipe array, but it works really well. The reason why is because in a lot of these more traditional coolers, if you just have heat pipes along the sides, then what you miss out on is some of that heat moving to the center of the fin stack. You want even heat distribution so that a fan can work across the board, but if enough heat is staying trapped on the sides, then you're losing some of that, again, potential in the stack. So we've got this FLIR imaging camera here. I'm gonna see if Lisa can show you guys what we are. Oh, it's not on. Did it die? Maybe it, oh no, there it goes. We gotta power it back on here. You can actually kind of see it there. Of course, the autofocus is not gonna play nicely with this, but you can see that it is slightly cooler in the center. So this isn't something that Cooler Master is making up. Functionally, this does happen in real life. And then on this side, you can see with the V8 Ace, that is near perfect heat distribution, left to right. And again, the reason why is because of that 3D heat pipe design. I believe that is a wrap for our Cooler Master coverage. Again, there's so much to see here, so much that we haven't even shown you, especially on the enterprise server side of things. You can Cooler Master handle servers get hot, and that's of course a big market for them as well. But you guys want to see the consumer stuff. The HAF II being back is so awesome. The 220mm fans, just So many things I'm taking away from this trip. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this one. Big shout out to Cooler Master for supporting us, and I want to hope that you stay tuned for the next one.